Welcome to the deep dive, where we kind of take the sources you've given us and really try to, pull out the most interesting, useful stuff from it, specifically for you.
Exactly.
So for this deep dive, we're going to be looking at a document called, let me see, it's the modernbreakup.pdf. And, I mean, there's so much to unpack here, but I think the main mission for us today is going to be to really get into the themes of modern relationships.
Yeah.
Obviously breakups, which is, kind of right there in the title, and then also how people grow and change after these experiences.
Exactly. We're going to take a deep look at the observations in this document and use it to understand how people connect in the modern world, how they disconnect, and then eventually how they rebuild, looking beyond just the events in the narrative, right?
Yeah.
To uncover some broader truths.
Okay, so the document opens with this, it's like an allegory.
Right.
And there's this woman who's trapped in a maze. It's described as being luscious and full of life at one point. You get this feeling of vibrancy, connection, but now it's like abandoned and silent.
Yeah.
And she's desperately trying to escape, but she keeps ending up back where she started. There's
Yeah.
this line, she had been here before.
Right. Like that feeling of being stuck,
Right.
like
Yeah.
being trapped.
Repeating those same patterns.
Exactly. And with this, like, past happiness, that's now just a memory. It's like a really powerful, I don't know, it just resonated with me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, right away it pulls you in. It sets this emotional stage so powerfully. The change in her surroundings, going from this thriving to desolation, it really mirrors that internal experience.
Yeah.
When a relationship ends badly, it's like a punch in the gut. You
Yeah.
feel that, don't you? You've been there.
Oh, yeah.
That feeling of being stuck, repeating those same patterns, that line, she had been here before. It says so much about the way we can get trapped
Right.
in these cycles, even the
Right.
bad ones.
Maybe you felt trapped in a similar way.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what this deep dive is going to help you with. How can you identify those walls in your own life, in your own maze? That's something to think about.
Right. Okay, so then she gets a glimmer of hope, literally, a ray of sunlight,
Mm.
breaks through. She sees a light and she runs towards it. There's this figure bathed in light,
Mm.
and she immediately thinks, rescue. She even says, oh, thank God, I knew you'd come to save me. But it gets dark pretty quick.
Mm.
The figure gives her these red roses.
Mm.
Roses, right? A classic symbol of like hope and new beginnings.
Absolutely.
But hidden inside is a snake,
Whoa.
and it bites her.
Ouch.
The betrayal, yeah, it's so stark. And when she confronts him, poof, the light's gone.
Mm.
He's just an empty statue.
It's so layered, the symbolism here. So many layers. The radiant figure, that first impression of a savior. It could be how we often idealize people, especially new partners. We project all our hopes and dreams onto them. It's what psychologists call idealization. You see what you want to see. You ignore any red flags,
Right.
And the roses, beautiful, right?
Yeah.
But with that snake hidden inside, that's the painful truth. The pain, the betrayal, it can lurk beneath those attractive surfaces so often.
Yeah.
And when he becomes an empty statue, that emptiness, that's the disillusionment. That moment when the ideal shatters and there's nothing underneath. Have you experienced this? It's important to consider.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a brutal awakening. And she runs away.
Mm.
And then she crashes right into this massive mirror.
Oh, wow.
And she's forced to, confront herself. But her self-perception is so warped because of everything that's happened.
Right.
She's saying things like, you're so ugly compared to them. Look at you. No wonder he doesn't want you.
Oof.
It's harsh. And then this quote appears. Sometimes where pure light is perceived, darkness lingers.
Wow.
It's such a, I don't know, it's just a powerful image of what it feels like after going through something like that.
It's a powerful image. And it's spot on, It's that mirror encounter. It shows how that pain after a breakup, it can turn inward. It can damage your self-worth. And that voice, that critical voice in her head, you're so ugly, it's likely an echo of what that other person was saying.
Right.
And that quote, sometimes where pure light is perceived, darkness lingers. It's a powerful reminder that looks can be deceiving.
Right.
You need to look beneath the surface, especially in your relationships.
Yeah, so true. Okay, so let's move to the more modern part of the narrative. We meet Amelia and her friend Zara. They're at a bar.
Right.
And Amelia is just immediately drawn to this guy. He's described as gorgeous European or something
Yeah.
with scruffy hair, tan skin, the whole package.
Yeah.
There's this instant physical attraction. But also, she's feeling insecure. But that seems to make her even more curious about him. especially because he's got this confident way about him.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how attraction works? It's so rarely just about looks. It's the energy, the way they carry themselves, you know? Yeah, yeah.
That can be really powerful, like it is for Amelia, obviously. And you see it in her reaction. That insecurity mixed with curiosity. It's like attraction can be tied up with our own self-image. And she even mentions wanting to equal his energy.
Yeah.
It's a common thing, that feeling.
Totally. So Zara, being the good friend she is, she's teasing Amelia about whether he checked her out or not. And then she goes on to give her views on, when exes reach out after a breakup, which are pretty cynical. She talks about this, like, circle of getting your hopes up and then being disappointed, like over and over again.
Yeah.
And her advice is pretty blunt, She says to tell them to fuck off or just ignore them if it's just about a booty call.
It's a very guarded approach, right? Zara's. But that's probably from experience.
Right.
And that circle she talks about, so many people fall into that trap. You want to believe things could be different. That hope comes back for a minute and then, bam, disappointed again.
Yeah. Her advice, well, it's not going to be for everyone, but you can tell it comes from a good place. She wants to protect her friend, It's important to ask yourself, when an ex reaches out, what's the real motivation there? Is it genuine? Or are they just after a hookup? You need to be able to spot those red flags.
Right. Okay, so then we see Zara getting super annoyed by this guy who keeps texting her.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny considering the advice she just gave Amelia, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Shows you how much harder it is to take your own advice sometimes.
Totally. And Zara tries to get Amelia to do some coke, but she says no. She wants to, stay in control because she's still dealing with all the emotions from her breakup.
Yeah. Everyone handles things differently, right? Some people want to numb the pain, escape. Others, they want to stay present, deal with things head on.
Yeah. So then Zara goes on this whole rant about being in New York, not having to answer to anyone. You kind of get the feeling she's trying to convince herself as much as Amelia. But she's still clearly bothered by that guy who keeps texting. And eventually she admits that she's been using Amelia's breakup as an excuse to avoid him.
She's got her own stuff going on too, huh?
Oh, yeah.
That happens a lot,
Yeah.
We're all dealing with things, even if we project this tough exterior.
Right, right. So then Amelia's talking about how she likes to actually get to know someone online before meeting them, which is totally different from Zara's approach. Zara's like ready to jump right in.
Yeah, and you see that tension, don't you, in the modern dating world? Wanting that real connection, feeling safe, getting to know someone online first.
Yeah.
But also, how many times have you been there? The online stuff just feels superficial.
Ugh.
You want to meet face to face. It's tiring, the back and forth.
For sure. Amelia also makes this comment about how in modern dating, there's this lack of, basic respect, like just looking someone in the eye and talking to them. Everyone's so quick to judge, make assumptions. Zara, though, she's got, like, a much more aggressive approach. She says to bruise their ego a little bit.
Oh, feisty.
And then, speak of the devil, the gorgeous guy, Nick, walks up to them.
Right on cue.
And Amelia's reaction is so relatable, She gets super anxious and wants to bolt to the bathroom. Luckily, Zara stops her. Nick comes right into their conversation, very confident. He even touches Zara's back. And there's this quick detail about Amelia being more into, like, darker features, while Zara is more into, can guys.
Yeah. Attraction's a funny thing, right? Everyone's got their preferences, and it's such a personal thing.
Yeah. Okay, so Zara and Nick start bantering. He asks, like, all sarcastically, if being nice usually works for her. And she, very confidently says, yep, it does. But Amelia notices that he's not, like, taking Zara's shit from the beginning, which seems to surprise her a little. There's also a brief mention of Amelia's long friendship with Zara and her sister Chloe, who lives in Australia. Just little hints at, her support system.
Yeah, that context is important. You see their dynamic, that long history.
And Amelia's thinking about how Zara is so guarded, because of things that have happened in the past, and how different that is from her own approach. She's much more vulnerable in relationships. We even hear about Zara saying she's never going to give so much of herself again after this one really bad breakup.
Everyone processes things differently, Some build walls, others keep that vulnerability.
Right. But even though Zara can be kind of abrasive sometimes, Amelia really cares about her.
Yeah.
So then things get a little crazy. Amelia calls out to Zara, telling her to stop and catch up. And Zara gets all defensive, saying something about Nick's behavior. Amelia's hesitant to leave, though. if Zara really wants to.
Hmm.
Nick comes over, asks if everything is cool.
Hmm.
And Amelia, just straight up, asks him his name.
Wow. Straight to the point.
Right. And she mentions being really attracted to his, like, strong energy.
Hmm. Interesting. Maybe she's looking for something different this time.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So then Amelia, trying to, like, smooth things over, she asks Nick to apologize to Zara.
Mm.
Zara at first is like, nah, it's fine. But then Nick gives this really sincere apology and suggests they restart this whole thing.
Hmm.
Zara eventually accepts, and they even joke about him charming girls in clubs.
Okay.
And then he invites them to join him and his friend Jordan for a drink.
All right, so things are looking up.
Yeah, they're definitely warming up to each other.
Yeah.
So they're all at the bar now, and Nick's talking about how people are going to judge you no matter what, so you might as well just be yourself.
Yeah.
And Amelia's like, I don't know, she feels like she can't relate because she doesn't own a business or anything.
Hmm.
And Zara, always direct, asks him how old he is and what he does. He's a partner at a law firm, by the way.
Okay.
But his answer about age is pretty interesting. He says it just creates unnecessary judgment, and that he'd rather just get to know someone first.
Hmm. A good point, actually.
Yeah.
How often do we let age define people? It's just a number. It's about the person inside.
Yeah.
Like, what have they learned?
Yeah, exactly. He goes on to say that, wisdom doesn't always come with age. Like someone in their 20s can be really wise,
Right.
while someone in their 40s can keep making the same mistakes over and over again.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Totally. Amelia and Zara seem pretty impressed with him, with his whole, like, conversational style and how much insight he has. And Zara agrees. It's what you learn from things, not just how many years you've been alive.
Yeah, it's about growth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, and Nick pays for their drinks. Classic move.
Nice. Always a good sign. Or at least a polite one.
So then Nick, very directly, tells Amelia and Jordan to actually talk to each other.
Yeah.
Instead of just looking around.
Gets right to it, huh?
He does. Jordan apologizes for how Nick was acting earlier, explains he's on leave from his job in New York, just needed a break. And Amelia's just as direct. She tells him she's in New York just to get away, and that she can't really focus on Jordan because she's distracted to Nick.
Oh, wow. There it is.
Right. Jordan, picking up on the vibe, asks if it's about a guy. Amelia hesitates at first, but then she says she wants to understand men better, like why they do the things they do.
Yeah.
The communication issues and modern dating, all that. She mentions her friend Rachel and her boyfriend Paul as like an example. And then the scene ends with Amelia waiting for Jordan to ask more.
Ooh, setting the stage. We're going to find out more about this. Huh?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so now we jump back in time, 5 weeks earlier.
Okay.
Amelia's at home. She's had a night in, alone, drinking champagne. And she's proud of herself for not texting him. We can assume this is the guy she just broke up with.
Yeah.
We learn she lives with Rachel and Rachel's boyfriend, Paul. He's around a lot. And Amelia's having this internal monologue.
Yeah.
She's so sick of guys and their bullshit, and she's going back and forth in her head about whether to just stay silent or say something.
It's a tough spot, right? It's so fresh. The emotions are all over the place.
Totally. She talks about this expectation that women should just accept, ignorance and rudeness, and how you're seen as crazy if you speak up.
That's so frustrating, that whole double standard.
Goodness. And she's fighting this urge to send, like, impulsive texts.
Yeah.
The kind you regret later.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Finally, she decides to go to Zara's to talk.
Good call.
Yeah. And when she gets there, Zara's talking about how late Amelia is and this delivery she's waiting for. But then Zara sees Amelia and immediately says she looks pale. Amelia's like, yeah, I feel sick. She started smoking again because something happened.
Ooh, that's never good.
Yeah. Turns out she checked his Facebook.
Ooh, no.
Yeah. Saw some posts that upset her, so now it's like an impromptu therapy session with Zara.
Always good to have that support system.
Right.
Someone to vent to.
Zara doesn't hold back. She calls him a fucking coward.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Zara.
And Amelia, initially she's kind of defending him. But then she says she unfriended him on Facebook. And guess what? He texted her to ask why.
Ooh, interesting.
Right. And to top it off, he's doing that whole, like, view her Instagram stories, like her posts, So she muted him.
The classic breadcrumbing.
Ugh, yes. Zara is, like, totally outraged. She's like, this is so hypocritical. He was so emotionally distant during the relationship, and now he's all over her socials.
Right. So confusing and frustrating. It makes it so much harder to move on.
Right. And Zara even brings up her own experience with this guy, Dave. Similar situation. Zara thinks social media is this breeding ground for, like, subliminal messages. And she wishes people would just communicate more directly and honestly.
Don't we all? It would make things so much easier. It's so easy to hide behind those screens, send those mixed signals.
Yeah. So Amelia's worried because her friends are still connected to him. Zara reassures her, it's all good. Then Amelia's talking about how she feels like she goes to extremes in relationships. Either she's super in it or completely detached. She even wonders if she should have been less available. But Zara immediately shuts that down.
Yeah.
Makes it very clear what she thinks about him.
You need that friend sometimes, to be blunt.
Yeah, definitely. Amelia's mind keeps going back to the good times.
That's hard.
It is. And Zara gives her this really practical piece of advice. To, like, actively focus on the things she didn't like about him.
Yeah, that can help.
Right, to counter that romanticized image. And Zara even shares this story about how she would, act interested and then pull away. And how the power dynamic shifted when he then reached out to Amelia. And Amelia admits she actually felt empowered by that.
It's so common to look back on those relationships with rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
You got to bring yourself back to reality.
Right, but then, oh, man. Classic Amelia. She accidentally liked an old Instagram photo of him with 2 women.
Oh, no. Not good.
Yeah. And remember, he had said he didn't like women like that. So obviously she's super frustrated and jealous, which is, like, really out of character for her. Zara tries to calm her down, says they were probably just friends.
Social media.
The worst.
Can be so tricky to navigate after a breakup.
I know. And now Amelia's spiraling. She's wondering if she was boring, if things moved too slowly.
Oh, man, those self-doubts. They creep in so easily.
I know. Zara basically tells her to stop it.
Good.
She says that he's the one with the issues.
Exactly.
And she points out how much Amelia changed during the relationship. How she was anxious when he was distant, then super happy when he gave her attention. She tells her that she's better than that. That she's not usually the type to, like, second-guess herself.
It's important to see those patterns, how we change in those relationships.
Yeah, definitely. Amelia starts writing down her thoughts and feelings in her notes app. And then she decides to go for a walk in the park. So now we get Zara's thoughts on relationships.
Okay. She's pretty honest about not having much success with long-term relationships, but she focuses on how much she's learned from it all. She talks about this overwhelming desire to feel wanted, accepted, and how social media makes it so much worse.
It's real, that pressure.
And she even remembers this time when Amelia showed her, like, examples of successful women who didn't post those overly sexualized pictures. It actually changed how Zara used social media herself.
It's amazing how those small things can have such a big impact.
Right. And Zara's realized that, sometimes when people don't respond to her affection, it's not about her.
Yeah.
It's about their own insecurities.
That's a big realization.
It is. So Zara's all about focusing on genuine connections now. She wants to be more direct, about who she's interested in. Stop wasting time on those who don't care. She also says she doesn't see kindness as a weakness anymore. She wants a safe and secure partnership. And she's done putting unavailable people on a pedestal. So, back to Amelia.
We're in her head again, in this section called I Feel. She's scared to fall in love again, but she also wants to be stronger next time.
It's understandable, that fear.
It is. And she admits she was naive, trusting too quickly, getting emotionally invested too soon.
That's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah. She's still thinking about him, wondering if he'll treat someone else the way she wanted to be treated.
It's hard to let go of those thoughts sometimes.
She talks about writing all these emotional texts, but never sending them.
Oh, yeah. The unsent texts. We've all got those in our drafts folder.
And she's thinking about how modern dating is so transient,
Yeah.
because of apps and everything. People just, like, give up so easily.
It's true.
And then she remembers this really powerful piece of advice her mom gave her. You have to stop expecting people who don't love themselves to love you the way you love them.
Wow, that's powerful. And so true.
I know. Amelia knows she's capable of loving deeply. But not everyone gets that.
Yeah.
And it's not like she can just, switch off her feelings, no matter what other people think.
Right.
She says that doesn't make her weak.
Yeah.
She's learning from this.
It's a process. Right.
Yeah. She's also talking about how emotionally unstable she's felt after being, screwed around.
Yeah, it takes a toll.
And she's analyzing, like, everything. The delayed text replies, the absent replies, how good she felt when he paid attention to her, how bad when he didn't.
Hmm.
She's realizing that it doesn't really matter how long you've known someone. It's about the emotional investment.
Exactly. It's how they make you feel.
Yeah. Logically, she knows what she wants in a partner, but it's like her heart doesn't always listen,
Hmm.
and she's just feeling so unwanted.
Mm.
No matter how long the relationship lasted, that rejection hurts.
It does.
She remembers all the things that frustrated her. His short replies, how much time he spent with his female colleagues, how he just brushed off her concerns.
Hmm.
And now she's questioning everything. Like, do you have to keep a guy guessing? Do you have to play games? Should she have been less invested? She's definitely overthinking things.
It's easy to do that, After a breakup, you analyze everything.
Yeah. She contrasts Zara's approach, like how she was obsessive, stalked her ex online, with Rachel's support, which was so much more, comforting.
Hmm.
She talks about Rachel's spiritual side and how strong her sense of self-worth is. And Melia even admits feeling like a pet sometimes,
Hmm.
waiting for Rachel to come home and, take care of her. She wishes she could just be open with Jay. That's his name.
Okay.
But she feels weird about it. She's realizing that what she thought was humility might have actually been insecurities or, deeper issues. But even with all the bad, she's still remembering those good times,
Hmm.
like spending whole days together at the park. So then she gets this call from a private number.
Ooh.
And her immediate thought is it him?
Hmm.
But it's her mom,
Oh.
calling from her aunt's house phone, which she's obviously not happy about. Amelia's telling her mom about this urge she has to, help Jay.
Hmm.
She thinks he doesn't know what he's doing, that he pushes people away because he feels unworthy.
Hmm.
Her mom, though, no hesitation, she calls him an asshole and a coward for ending it over text while he was on vacation.
Wow. Straight to the point.
I know, right?
Moms can be like that. No filter.
She reminds Amelia that she was always there for him.
Hmm.
But he didn't really reciprocate. She thinks he's very manipulative, that he broke Amelia down bit by bit.
Mm.
She even calls him very narcissistic. Amelia's a little hesitant to go that far.
Yeah, it's a heavy label.
But her mom keeps going, giving examples like how self-centered he is, how he doesn't seem interested in other people, how he kept these two separate lives,
Mm-hmm.
never really including Amelia in his world with his friends. She basically says he has no empathy and that he's got a lot of work to do to find himself, and that Amelia needs to just accept that.
That's a hard truth sometimes.
It is. So then what does Amelia do? She calls Jay.
Oh, boy.
The conversation is polite, but it's super awkward.
Hmm.
He says he's been sick, asks how she is. She's all, super enthusiastic. But you can tell it's probably not genuine.
Yeah.
Afterwards, she's wondering if she should have suggested meeting up. Her
Mm.
mom's like, even if he had wanted that, it would just been him being cowardly. And he probably would have gotten off on knowing she still cared.
Ooh. Yeah.
Her mom tells her she's proud of her, though, for not sounding all needy on the phone. And she says to stop overanalyzing everything he says.
Good advice.
And then she goes into this whole, relationship advice thing. She says it's not just about that epic spark.
Hmm.
It's about substance and depth.
Yeah.
Real conversation, connection, understanding. She basically tells young women to, really think about what they want in a partner.
Mm.
So they don't just settle for anyone. She even defines what a real man is. Someone who has respect, integrity, self-awareness, and who works hard to give his loved ones the best.
Hmm. That's a good definition, actually.
She's not happy about girls chasing after assholes instead of appreciating the gentleman.
That's a common theme,
It is.
Why are we drawn to the ones who mistreat us?
I don't know. She also says self-love is key to being able to recognize when someone's treating you with respect.
Absolutely. It all starts with how you see yourself.
She believes people treat you the way you allow them to. So she says, get to know someone before committing. Don't just go for the initial attraction.
Yeah.
Make sure you're compatible. She even suggests asking about their energy when it